Am I gonna get diabetes watching this? I weirdly love Darling in the Franxx. It's strange to me. By all accounts, I should hate the series. The majority of the series is giant mechs fighting each other, which just feels like slamming action figures together to me. It's way too over-sexualized. There is no reason why the woman has to be in doggy. She could easily just be in a chair in the front. It takes place in a post-apocalyptic world which is overused, and let's face it, no one is doing it better than the first two Fallout games. It has the infamous "it was aliens all along" plot twist, which I hate with a passion, and yet, I can't help but love this series. Sit back, relax, as we dive into the narrative. First of all, the setting. A post-apocalyptic world where giant biomechanical robot kaiju called Klaxosaur drove most of humanity to extinction. And whatever humanity is left is living inside of these mobile cities called plantations. Feels very human experimenty to me, but whatever. Also, considering the kids who pilot the human mechs are called parasites, doesn't make it better. These are teenagers, by the way. One of these kids, named Hero, cannot pilot these mechs. There must be two pilots for the human mechs, one boy and one girl. They have to sync up and be a good match together to fight well. Except Hero hasn't found his match yet, until he meets 02, who is half Klaxosaur. Wonder if that's gonna factor into the plot at some point. Anyways, 02 is known for killing her partners, but they find out that Hero is the exception, so he's able to awaken the true power of Strelizia, 02's special type of Franxx. By the way, yes, that's what the mechs are called. They're called Franxx. I hate it. Don't worry about it. It is kind of a generic first episode of the series, but it does establish what we need. Context. But the plot isn't what made me fall in love with the series. I will get to that later. The pilot system is dumb and it doesn't need to be that sexualized. I don't really have much to talk about here. The girls are in doggy for some reason, and there are handlebars on their asses. The girls moan when they connect. This is not needed, Trigger! Apparently the reasoning behind it is because the Franxx are made from dead Klaxosaurs, and the mental strain on one pilot was too much to handle, so they needed a second pilot to distribute the mental load between them. Which, okay, fine, that makes sense. But why are they in this position? There's no reason why they can't just both be in chairs, Trigger! The aliens twist is such a stupid decision that I can't comprehend what led to it. It turned an anime I adored up to that point into the laughingstock of the anime community. Whenever somebody mentions aliens, Darling in the Franxx is mentioned alongside it, with something akin to, actually, the real enemies are aliens! Don't get me wrong, I have a lot of positives to talk about with the series. We will get to it later. This is the one thing I can't ignore. Imagine, for 20 episodes, we've been fighting these same enemies, the Klaxosaurs. But in episode 21, Hero meets the Klaxosaur princess, who Giguk has the amazing name for, so she shall be called Zero Blue. So Zero Blue reveals that the Klaxosaurs aren't the true enemy. Then all of a sudden, aliens invade the planet and the Klaxosaurs start firing at them. Then Zero Blue and Dr. Franxx, this old dude, start steadily revealing information. The Franxx are Klaxosaurs, and the Klaxosaurs themselves are weapons built by an ancient species called the Klaxosapiens. They fought these aliens beforehand and drove them off, then buried themselves into the earth to prepare for a return invasion. And that the council known as Ape are members of this alien species called Verm. All things considered, this twist could have worked if they hinted at this earlier. They revealed all of this so late into the series it dampens its impact. If they started hinting at this when 02's character arc was finished by the halfway point of the season, it may have been better received. But it's revealed so late and all at once effectively, 3 of these dopes on the councils didn't even know the others were aliens! I hate this twist, I wish it was done better. It could have been better, but it wasn't. But despite all of this, I can't help but love this series, because it has one saving grace. One thing that saves this series for me, and that is the character writing and the theme of what does it mean to be human. This is Squad 13, all of our central characters in the anime. All these characters get cucked at some point in the series. Starting with 02. 02 is half human and half Klaxosaur, or Klaxosapien, I guess. She was grown in a lab to be a weapon, and when she got to the age of cutie patootie, she was chained up and constantly tested on. Kinda fucked up if you asked me. Her caretaker seemed to be the only one who actually cared about her and gave her a picture book, which was her first pretty thing. She goes through more and more torture until she locks eyes with Hero as she's being dragged away. Seeing the torture 02 goes through, one day he breaks 02's window and breaks her out of the facility. They go on a cute adventure. I swear if I get diabetes watching this trigger. Hiro gives Zero Two her name, Zero Two. Very creative. But the No Fun Police capture Hiro and erase his memories, while Zero Two keeps hers. She gains a desire to be more human than the monster or weapon that Ape wants her to be. I don't know why you'd want to be human. We suck, but sure, okay. They eventually reunite in episode 1 and go on wacky adventures together. But Zero Two comes to the conclusion that Hiro wasn't the Darling from back then, even though he is, and decides to try to use him as fodder. But in doing so, she gives him a glimpse of her memories, which he sees everything from her point of view, which brings his own memories back. Hiro is hospitalized, and now that Zero Two knows that he is her original Darling, she tries to see him, but Ichigo happens. She needs to Ichigo fuck herself, and decides to pilot Strelizia on her own in rampage mode, going feral. The big Klaxosaur carrier ship-looking thing, I cannot for the life of me remember the name of this thing, starts invading a plantation. Zero Two and Strelizia tears them apart one by one, getting more feral the more kills she gets. Hiro snags a training bot to make it to Zero Two, and when they do, the best voice acting in the whole series takes place. This scene makes me so emotional every time I watch it. Please watch it. I will link it in the description. I would play the whole thing if I could, believe me. They make up and destroy the carrier Klaxosaur and the big crater thing called the Grand Impasse. And that's her whole character arc. I love this. If I had enough time to talk about the other major character arcs, I would. But some of the topics, I genuinely have no idea how to talk about it on YouTube, so I will leave that to you to watch if you decide to. Order of cucking time! Goro is best boy, but he has a crush on Ichigo. But Ichigo has a crush on Hiro. And she tries to kiss him against his will, and Goro watches, but Hiro loves Zero Two, so Ichigo gets cucked by Hiro. Ikuno is a lesbian, bi at the very least, which is fantastic. I genuinely love that representation. But she loves Ichigo, who is in love with Hiro, so she gets cucked. Futoshi likes Kokoro, but Kokoro likes Mitsuru. And they even eventually do the hanky-spanky, and Kokoro gets Prego, so Futoshi gets cucked. Okay, so maybe not all of Squad 13 gets cucked, but the majority do, and it's so fucking funny to me. Let me tell you a story. Back in 2018, when the series was just coming out, I knew what anime was, but never really dove into it outside of Saturday morning cartoons in the early to mid-2000s and Seven Deadly Sins on Netflix. But I kept seeing pictures and memes of Zero Two pop up all over the place. I got so annoyed with it when I asked my best friend of 11 years, "Hey, who's this girl that keeps showing up everywhere?" As I show him a meme. He says he has no idea. Light teasing ensues from me, something akin to, "But you watch anime, you should know her, right?" But I decided to look up the anime name, Darling in the Franxx. He says it's a new one that's airing this season. I asked him if he wanted to watch it with me. He goes, "You want to watch anime?" And I said, "Yeah, why not?" And thus, Darling in the Franxx was the very first anime series we watched together. And I was hooked on anime ever since. I have him to thank for taking the initial plunge with me. We took turns picking what series was next. I remember having a game of changing my phone wallpaper to whatever we were watching. We moved on to Love, Chinibyo and Other Delusions, Konosuba, Re:Zero, Fate Stay Night Unlimited Blade Works, Fate Zero, Gabriel Dropout, My Hero Academia, and so on and so forth. I've been in love with anime ever since, and I have Darling in the Franxx and my best friend to thank for it. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like and feel free to comment. I always encourage discussion about my videos in the comments. Do you have a different opinion than mine? Please share it. I love comments. Give them all to me. And I'll see you all the next time we dive into the narrative.